So welcome to this 11th lecture in ME303 heat transfer. Today we'll be talking about heat fins. But before we start, we have one topic left, that is heat generation in radial systems. Okay, so let's quickly finish that and then we'll get back to our fins. So in cylindrical coordinates, the equation we got for these geometries like a pipe, for example, this is our pipe. Now, in this case, in this example that we are considering right now, we have, let's say, a solid metallic or some pipe of a constant radius, and there is heat getting generated inside the pipe. Okay. So there is some Q dot. So there is some, let's say, some currents flowing in this wire and generating heat, and that heat is getting convected out from the surface. So we have some T infinity temperature here and heat transfer coefficient H. So that is convecting the heat out from the surface of this pipe. So this, in this case, temperature still is going to be a function of radius only. It's a very long pipe, so this z direction has no effect on the temperature distribution, and then it's a symmetric configuration. So the theta, or sorry, the phi has also not got any influence. So T is purely a function of R here, where the radius is measured from the center of the pipe. So this is a solid one, unlike the previous example we took, where we had only an annulus of insulation. So in this case, we have a solid material, let's say copper wire, in which some heat is getting conducted out and then convected from the surface. So the equation, if you remember the heat equation for cylindrical coordinates, so what we got was 1 by R. We are writing d by dr because the temperature is only a function of R, so it's an ODE. And then we have R dt by dr. So this is, earlier this was equal to 0, but now we also have a heat generation term. So it's Q dot by K that gets added to it. Okay, so we have done that in the past, except that now we have the Rth, instead of d2t by dx2, we have this term. All right, so if we saw, again, I won't spend too much time on this. We'll quickly analyze this. So if I solve this, earlier we solved this without the generation part, and now when we solve with the generation, so we get the temperature. So you have the Q dot term, and then you have similarly your C1 natural log of R plus C2. So we have this extra term because of the Q dot, which was earlier not there. Okay, the boundary condition in this case, now it's a solid pipe, so at R equal to 0, we need a boundary at R equal to 0 as well. Okay. So at R equal to 0, the most obvious boundary condition we can have is dt by dr should be 0. Okay. There is no reason that the temperature should, the derivative of temperature should not be 0 at R equal to 0. It's, I mean, if you go from R equal to positive to R equal to negative, you will see that it will be 0 at R equal to 0. There's no heat flow going from at R equal to 0, either in the upward or the downward direction. Okay, so this has to be 0 because of symmetry. And then at R equal to the surface, you will have, although you don't know that, but you will have some steady state temperature Ts here, which we can find by using Newton's law of cooling for convection. But we can write T at R naught. So this is your R equals R naught. And this temperature is the surface temperature Ts, which again can be found out using the Newton's law of cooling, using your T infinity and H. But I won't do that right now. Okay, so these are the two boundary conditions. So these will give me two constants C1 and C2 by solving that. Okay, so when we solve this, just making sure that whatever I write is visible. So when I solve this, so my T as a function of R in this case, so this is after substituting the boundary conditions. Okay, so this is the temperature distribution we get. So we can check. So if I put R equals R naught, then this term becomes R naught square divided by R naught square. So that's a 1. So 1 minus 1 is a 0. So I simply get a Ts. Okay. Similarly, if I take a dt by dr, then you can check by substituting R equals 0 that it's going to come out as 0. Okay, so it will satisfy both the boundary conditions. So this is our temperature distribution in this case. Now, the reason I want to discuss all this today is an idea of non-dimensionalization. In heat transfer, we do this a lot. We do non-dimensionalization. So the typical way we do it is, so we define a non-dimensional temperature theta. So we define it as so T as R minus Ts divided by T naught by Ts. Okay. Don't confuse R naught with T naught. So let's write, well, this is Tc. Okay. So Tc is for center temperature. Okay, so Tc is a temperature at center. We don't know that, but of course, once we know this, we can find that as well. So we define theta as T minus Ts divided by Tc minus Ts. Okay, so you'll see why we do that. And then we define a non-dimensional length or non-dimensional space coordinate as eta, and eta is defined as R upon R naught. So what we see is that if we do this, then my theta becomes a function of eta, and the functional form becomes simpler than what we have here. So if I do Tr minus Ts, and then I divide that by, so I have to find Tc here. So if I put R equals 0, then I get Q dot R naught plus 4K. So what I'll see is that you can quickly do that, but what you see is you get this theta as a function of eta is simply 1 minus eta squared. Okay, so it makes our lives very easy if we use the non-dimensional form. And non-dimensional forms are always much very comfortable to use. And in this case, it's like the temperatures varying from the center temperature to the surface temperature. So we have taken the denominator as the maximum delta T we can have, and then this one goes from at the center, this is the maximum, and at the boundary this difference becomes 0. So my theta value starts from at R equal to 0, this theta is equal to 1, and at R equal to R naught, my theta is equal to 0. Okay, so my theta is nicely normalized between 0 and 1, and similarly my eta also is nicely normalized between 0 and 1. So that's the beauty of using non-dimensionalization in this case, and you will see that extremely often in this course, that we tend to use the non-dimensional forms rather than the dimensional forms, which are, you can see that they were quite complicated, well, quite bulky to do calculations, but this one's quite elegant. Okay. Now, earlier we have been using the idea of thermal resistance, but here what we see is, so if I find the Q, in this case, the rate of heat flow. Now, you already know, well, you already have an understanding that in this case, my QR will not be constant, okay, because your heat's getting generated. So like you had in a slab, as you go out, you will see that the amount of heat flow will change. Okay? As you go along, then there's at the surface, it has to, so if you take this point, then the heat that is generated from the center also has to leave from this somewhere in the just below the surface. So you can see that QR will not be a constant, unlike the previous cases. So QR in this case as you know, is minus Ka dt by dr. So this becomes minus K times 2 pi RL times T naught minus Ts, which is, well, Tc minus Ts, which is my delta T. And then I have this times minus 2R upon R naught square. Okay, so this is my delta T. So remember that we are trying to write the current as some potential difference divided by resistance. But here, if you see the resistance or thermal resistance, it is not a constant. It is a function of R. Okay, so that is not useful at all, because we want a constant resistance so that we can simply replace this with the resistance. But we cannot replace this with the resistance between the center point and the surface in this conduction problem, because the idea of thermal resistance cannot be used because of the dependent on the R here. Okay, so be careful while applying the idea of thermal resistance. It is an analogy we take with the heat current. So it is applicable in cases where the generation is not there, but when you have generation, then you cannot use that idea. Any questions?
Sir,
Yes, sir.
sir, in the last case, in the last annular example that we had taken, where there was no heat generation,
Mhm.
sir, in that case, because of the final expression was in logarithmic. Uh, in the last class, the final expression was in log, so
Mhm.
we cannot use the inner radius as zero because of the annularity. Why is it so? Matlab, it doesn't make sense. Like we can have a temperature constant at a center, and why can't we analyze that?
You mean in the so today we could deal with that because we had this extra term, but yeah, last time we didn't have this, so you cannot put R equal to 0 here. Is that what you mean?
Yes, sir.
Right. So, well, that is true. That is a mathematical problem we have here, because R equal to 0 is something we can't work with logs. But try to think of a situation where you would actually have that. So if there is no generation, then what sort of boundary condition will you have? So it's a steady state situation, right? There's no dependence on time. So you have a pipe on which the outer surface temperature is given, but the inside temperature, the R equal to 0 temperature, is something that, I mean, if it's a solid copper tube like this, copper pipe like this, or copper wire like this, then what is the point? I mean, what is the physical analogy of saying that you have some temperature specified at R equal to 0? I understand the mathematical issue, but what my point is that we don't face that because we don't need those situations.
Okay, sir.
So you think about it, and if you find a case where actually at R equal to 0 the boundary temperature is given and that stays as that temperature, because boundary condition is something you impose physically as a constant throughout all the times, well, in most cases. So there is no physical reason when you had a fluid flowing inside which was causing some cold fluid, causing some temperature at the then you can. But you can always deal with this situation even if you have a very tiny radius in which the fluid is flowing. Then you would have, I mean, you can definitely have log of a small quantity. You may face numerical issues with that, but physically that is still possible.
Okay, sir.
Any other questions? This hand sanitizer is really good for cleaning the board. Okay, so let's start with the next topic, which is heat fins or fins. Okay, I'm sure everybody has seen these fins, but let us let me ask you a question. So you have a solid block. Okay? It could be your engine, car engine, which with as you use it, it gets hot. Okay, so this solid block, this engine that you have, the part of an engine, is getting heated, and you want to cool it. So for that, you have some cold air blowing on it. Okay? The T infinity and H, and you know that the from Newton's law of cooling, Q convection is H times A times T surface minus T infinity. So this is your T surface. All right. So as an engineer, if I ask you what can you do, because you want to increase this Q, you want to cool the engine as quickly as possible. So what can you do to increase the rate of heat transfer?
So surface area, we can increase surface area.
Right. So you can increase surface area. Okay. Then you can also increase H, or you can decrease your T infinity. Okay. So these are the three things you can do to increase the rate of heat transfer. So in situation, there are many situations where H and T infinity are not in your control. Okay, T infinity is the cold fluid. So when your car is moving, you're using the ambient temperature to cool it down. So that temperature you can't control unless you use a coolant. But the temperature of the air is something that is fixed. Then H again is a property of many things. So you don't have a lot of control over H, because again it's a forced convection situation when the car is moving. So H is again something that you can't control, or at least you can't control a very um, in a very strong sense. But area is something that is in your control. Okay? So if I give it more area to cool down, then given the H and T infinity are the same, I would still be able to increase my Q. So as a designer, I can increase the area, and that is exactly what it means by having heat fins. Okay, so I'm sure you have seen these fins. You have seen in a car, you have this radiator in the front, this zigzag metallic thing, and these are heat fins. So they give lots of area for the cooling to happen. You may have seen that in your refrigerators. So I mean, nowadays you have those sealed refrigerators at the back, but earlier you had these refrigerators where you could see the fins. Well, you have seen dogs in summers with their tongue out. That is again a heat fin, nothing else. Okay, so the dogs trying to increase the rate of heat transfer to cool down, because dogs want to use their tongue to cool down by losing more heat. So these are examples of heat fins. So let me give you. I could have actually shown you a picture by sharing my from the book, but that's okay. So I can draw the fins for you. So there are different types of fins. Okay, so these fins that you see, so these are called straight fins. Okay, so this is your base surface, and it's like the block that we have here, and then you have these fins jutting out. Okay, so these are called straight fins. Okay, and you can see that in this case, the cross-sectional area does not change. So if I see the cross-sectional area, then this cross-section area remains a rectangle. Okay, so it does not change as I move from. So typically we say this is my x equal to 0, and this is my this point, and this point in the outside of the fin is x equals L. Okay, so as I go from x equal to 0 to L, that is the fin length, then the cross-section area of the fin remains the same. Then you can have a straight fin with non-uniform cross-section. Because in this case, you have this triangular fin that's attached to the surface, and this fin cross-section area again is still a rectangle, but the cross-section area is changing as you go out from x equal to 0 to x equal to L. So x equal to L, the cross-section area is 0. X equal to 0, the cross-section area is the maximum. So this is called a triangular fin, or you can have a straight fin with so these both are straight fins, but this one has a variable cross-section area. Okay, then there's another fin which is called annular fin. So here you have like an annulus. So if you have some sort of a cylindrical geometry, like a rod or a pipe which is getting hot, so you can attach this annulus over it, these rings kind of thing, solid rings, and these give more area, because now earlier the heat transfer was happening only from this area, the lateral surface area. Now you have the complete surface area along with these edges as well. So you have more surface area for losing heat. And then you can have a pin fin. So pin fins are like pins attached to the surface. It's like a pin attached to a surface, and then again the cross-section area in this case is a circle rather than a rectangle, and the cross-section area is also changing as you go from the base plate, that is x equal to 0 to x equal to L. Okay, so these are the different fin geometries, typical fin geometries you have. You may see others as well, but these are the typical ones. Okay. Now it's very important to choose the thermal conductivity of the fin smartly. So just a quick question: what do you think? Will it make sense to have a fin made up of wood or a fin made up of silver?
So silver would make more sense.
Silver.
Okay, so everybody agrees with silver. Anybody for wood? Good. So thermal conductivity has to be as high as possible. Otherwise, you may end up putting more resistance, right? The pin is nothing but a resistance, because if you draw the circuit, so you have a T surface, and then you have a resistance that was earlier not there, a conduction resistance, and then you have a convection resistance. So by attaching a fin, what you're doing is you are decreasing your convection resistance, because you are increasing the surface area. So convection resistance will go down. Okay, 1 by HA. So A is increasing, so the convection resistance is decreasing, which is good. At the same time, you add some conduction resistance. An ideal fin is one that does not have any resistance, conductive resistance. So an infinite K is a perfect fin that you can have. So try to use a fin material which is high thermal conductivity. Okay.
Sir, the ability to radiate should be the most important quality or most important consideration in deciding what material should be used for the fin. It should be like this, right? Instead of conduction.
We are not considering radiation mode of heat transfer right now. So the only modes of heat transfer we have is conduction inside the solid and then convection from the surface. As I said that radiation is, let us say, is not happening.
Yes, sir.
Well, when the temperature becomes high, then radiation starts dominating. But in this case, let us assume that radiation is negligible.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Okay. And again, the choice of fin also ultimately it's all about the cost in most cases. So it depends on the space it takes, the weight of the fin, the cost, of course, of the material. And then as you put a fin, what also happens is when you were blowing air on the surface, then let's say you were actually using a pump or a fan to blow the air of the liquid, then when you put a fin, what happens is to maintain the same velocity of flow, you need more power of the pump, because the pressure drop has to maintain the same pressure drop, you need to have, there's more resistance to flow now because of this fin surface jetting out. So you'll want to consider that as well if you were using some sort of a fan for cooling. Okay, so that increases the cost as well, not directly by the fin cost, but the cost of other things. You have to keep that in mind as well. So you should also keep in mind the geometry and that effect on the fluid flow, which ultimately will affect the H value as well. Okay. So let's to analyze the fins. Ultimately, remember the aim is still the same, to find the temperature distribution inside the fin. Okay, so if we get that, then we can get the rate of heat flow, and our job is to actually increase the rate of heat flow, this Q. Okay, so if we can find the temperature distribution inside the fin, then we can get this Q.
Sir, one more question. Sir, if we are performing a forced convection by like above the fins, then why don't we put a fan? Like, I know in some situations it will not be possible to attach a fan, but from what I've observed, a fan does a better job than a fin. Like, I'm just here comparing the computers used to have fin and now they have fans. So if we are anyway using a forced convection, why don't we use it over the component which we want to cool directly?
They are both working together. So remember that without any convection, there's no point of having a fin. Ultimately, you're increasing A for a convection mode of heat transfer. So they are both working. So you increase your H by putting a fan, and you also increase the A through the fin. Now it depends on the problem. I mean, I'm not saying that you should not increase H. It may happen that it is more cost effective to increase the H by putting well, a fan in the computer, etc. But that does not mean that fins are useless. Okay, so fins definitely add more areas. If you use both of them together, then you can increase the rate of heat transfer further.
Okay, so it's more situation specific.
Right, right. And if you open your computer up, then you will see that actually on the surface of the processor, you have this heat sink, which
Yes,
has a
Fin.
fin-like thing on the top. Okay, so
Yes,
you're still using fins. So you increase the area, and then you have some air blowing over it to increase the value of H. So you're using both of them.
okay.
All right. So let's derive the heat conduction equation. Again, it's very similar to what we have done in the past. So let's derive that for this pin fin situation, because the cross section area is a bit more interesting than a rectangle. And well, it would be a very quick exercise anyways, because we already have done that. And once we have the equation, then we'll solve it and analyze the solution. So in this case, we have, let's take the direction as this. Along the fin is the x direction, and then in the perpendicular plane we have the y direction, and then z is on the top. Okay, so we are in this the assumption here is that we'll again assume 1D situation. So heat, the temperature variation is only happening along the length of the fin. Okay, that may not be a very good assumption in many cases, but it is a decent one for fins which are long and have this kind of a geometry. Okay, so as we did earlier, so we'll take an element like this. So let me draw that a zoomed in version of this element. So this is the same as this. So what's happening is you have some heat flowing into the element, which we'll call Qx, and there's some heat flowing out, which is Qx plus delta x. Same as earlier. So this thickness of this element is delta x. Okay, the cross section area of this for this element is AC. Now AC, remember, is a function of x. It is not a constant in this case. So, and you also have a surface area, a lateral surface area, which we'll call delta AS. Okay, I will remove this functional dependence. Just mention that so that you remember this. It may be a constant if you have a cylindrical fin, but for this spin fin kind of a situation, your AC is a function of x. All right, so let's do the energy balance. So the energy balance we have is some heats entering, and that heat leaves partly out as conduction and partly as convection from the lateral surface AS. It is not and convecting through delta AS in this case. So the heat balance equation that we have is Qx is Qx plus delta x plus Q convection. Okay, so we can also use the Taylor series expansion in Qx plus delta x. So this we can write as Qx plus del Qx by del x times delta x, and then we neglect the higher order terms. So we approximate this as these two terms. And your Q convection in this case, you can use the Newton's law of cooling. So this becomes H, which is the heat transfer coefficient because of the flow that's happening on the surface of the fin. And then you have the area. So in this case, the cooling's the convection is happening from this lateral surface area. So that's delta AS for this situation. And then the temperature difference. So you have T, which is the surface temperature here. You can assume that the temperature on this thin element is not changing, and then minus T infinity. So T infinity is the temperature outside on which convection's happening. Okay. Now I can simply remove this Qx from both sides. And then I can also use my Fourier's law of heat conduction. So that remember Qx was minus K A dt by dx. Okay, so T is only a function of x here. And so is Q. Okay, so Q is also only a function of x. So in this case, I actually can replace this by d by dx. Okay, and this area for the Fourier's law of heat conduction is the cross-sectional area, so that's AC. We should be careful here because we have two different types of areas here. So let's substitute this Fourier's law of heat conduction. So what we end up getting is dq by dx. So that becomes minus, I can take this on the left hand side. So this becomes d by dx of KAC dt by dx, and this is equal to h delta AS t minus t infinity. Right? Now let's make an assumption now. Let's assume that K is homogeneous. Again, that may not be true. So, but for this today's discussion, I will assume that if later you have to deal with a non-homogeneous K, then you have to go back to this step and start working again. So if K is homogeneous, then you can take the K out and this K gets divided here. So all you have is d by dx of, let me do it here only just to save on some space. If K is homogeneous, then this K comes out and I can write this K here. And this becomes my d by dx of AC times dt by dx. So I'll write somewhere here K homogeneous. Okay. So let's expand this. So we get AC times the second derivative of temperature with respect to x, plus then we have dAC by dx times dt by dx. And on the right hand side, we have h upon k times delta AS times t minus t infinity. Okay. Did I miss a delta x term somewhere? So there was a delta x here. Okay, so I forgot to write that. So this dq by dx was this thing, and then we had a delta x here as well. Okay, so this delta x is the thickness of the element that I've taken. So I can also take this delta x here. So I get this equation. Okay, so remember that this dAC by dx is not 0 because your AC cross-section area in this case is changing with the length of the fin. Now in the limit that delta x tends to 0, that is what we typically do. So in that case, this term delta AS by delta x becomes a derivative. So I'm trying to save a lot of board space here. So I'm doing this work above the equations. Okay, so this is the equation that we have for our heat fin. Okay, that's it. Any questions? Okay, so once we have now that we have the equation, let's put this to use. So let's apply that for some fin. So I'll keep the equation on the board because I'll be needing that. Okay, so you can see that this looks a bit different from our heat conduction equation in a slab, but because you have dAc by dx, and you also have convection happening on the surface of the fin. So let's take an example. Let's take an example of a rectangular fin. Okay, and this one has a constant cross section. Okay, so it's one of the first fins I had drawn, the straight fins, something like that. In this case, our AC is constant. So when I substitute that here, then what I get is AC times, let's write the AC. So AC is nothing but, let's keep it AC. AC times d2t by dx2, and this term becomes 0. And we have h upon k, and this dax by dx. Okay, so this one's a rectangular fin. So the surface area is nothing but the I mean, remember this surface area was this delta A that we had was this thing. Okay, so this is nothing but the perimeter P times the length x, and then you take a dax by das. So this is your as. So if you take a derivative of that, so what you're left with is just the perimeter P. This is the perimeter P, and then you have T minus T infinity. Okay. So what we do here is, remember, we are solving for this T. What typically again we'll do is we'll substitute T minus T infinity as some other variable. So we'll put that theta, we call it the excess temperature. So that is what is causing the convection. Okay. So this difference delta T potential is causing. So let's call this theta. So your equation ultimately becomes d2 theta by dx2. That's h upon KAC times P times theta. Okay, where theta is defined as T minus T infinity. It's called the excess temperature. Okay, so you know how to solve this equation. It's a second order ODE, which is homogeneous. So you can use that using the characteristic equation, so e to the power of mx. This whole thing you can call m square. Okay, so the solution you get in this case is theta as a function of x is some constant c1 times e to the power of mx plus c2 e to the power of minus mx. Okay. So I'm sure you can solve this given the situation. So I won't do that here. But what's very interesting here is the kind of boundary conditions we can have. Okay, so let's that's a very interesting discussion. So let's do that. So different kinds of boundary. So I'll write that on my right hand side. So the first kind of boundary condition you can have is that the first boundary condition that you will have is the temperature of the base is given. So we call it theta at x equal to 0 is theta base. Okay, theta b stands for theta base. Okay, so that's your first boundary condition. And remember, you need two because you have two constants here, C1 and C2. And the second one can have different types. The second one I'll call the first one as A. So where we say that there is convective loss at the tip of the fin. So this tip that you have, because that's another boundary, right? That's x equal to L, and this is x equal to 0. So at x equal to L, you can say that my loss that is happening is convective here. Okay? So what you get is H times AC, because this loss convection is happening from the cross section area now, times temperature at L minus T infinity, and this is equal to the conduction loss, which is minus KAC dt by dx, and this is at L. Okay, so that's one boundary condition that typically is used. Again, that depends. I mean, it's not that you can choose any one of those for the second case. It's well, you choose it depending on the one that is applicable. The second one it could be that the tip of the fin is adiabatic. Okay, so for some reason there is no heat loss possible from the tip of the fin. That's an adiabatic situation. In that case, dt by dx at x equal to L becomes 0. So you call it the adiabatic tip. Okay. Well, it could also be that the boundary at x equal to L, the temperature is prescribed. That's a Dirichlet condition, but you won't find that condition in most cases unless you have this tip touching, well, dipped in melting ice. So in that case, you'll have temperature equal to 0 degrees centigrade. So you can have theta L prescribed. Okay, that's a Dirichlet one. And the last one is the condition where you have a very long fin. Now, what that means is the length of the fin L, well, is very long, so that tends to infinity. So what boundary condition you can use is theta L tends to 0 as L tends to infinity. Okay, oh, sorry, I think you can't see this part. Okay, so theta, remember, it was the excess temperature. So what we are saying is that since the fin is very long, so at the heat keeps getting lost from the surface. So ultimately, the tip is at the same temperature as the ambient. Okay, so the surface was very hot, but all the heat got lost from the surface. Sorry, the base was very hot, and all the heat got lost from the surface of the fin, and the tip ultimately was at the same temperature as T equals T infinity. Okay. So we will stop here now, and in tomorrow's class, I will talk about like how do you judge if adding a fin would be useful or not. Okay, so we'll talk about two quantities. One's called fin effectiveness, and the other one is called fin efficiency. So you have to calculate those while designing fins and decide whether you actually want to use a fin or not. Okay. So any questions?